Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We are in our second public forum for the Hollis Primary School possible addition renovation that we are looking to get your vote on when the bond comes out. Tonight's going to be a lot of information, and we're going to present that, and then we'll have time for questions. Before we get started and going into it, I just want to introduce a few people so you know who's here. I'm Paula Zbicki. I'm the principal here at Hollis Primary School. I'm also part of the enrollment committee, which has started studying our enrollment increase a couple of years ago and has led us to this point. Over there we have Gina Berkskog, our superintendent of SAU 41. Lance, where is he? I saw him here. Lance Finnemore is here. He is coming down now. He is the director of facilities for SAU 41. He is also on the enrollment committee. Mike Levitt, I know you're not up here if you want to wave your hand. He has been our budget and planning board representative on the enrollment committee. Amy Johnson isn't here right now. She is on her way. The weather's having her drive a little bit slow. She is the project manager from Fussett O'Neill, the civil engineers. We have Brad Prescott, who is our project manager from Banwell Architects. We have Matt Giffen, also from Banwell Architects. He is our project designer. Matt Smith, right there, is the director of operations for EEI. Matt Wheaton, right here, is the executive vice president of DEW Construction. Ann Wake DePasquale is school board member who is also on the enrollment committee and is going to take over next to sort of lay the land of what we're going to hear tonight. Up to you.
So we want to hear from our professionals as soon as possible. So I just want to first thank everybody for coming tonight to learn more about this project. If you are new to learning about this project, and I do see some familiar faces here, but we have given a lot of information on our enrollment committee website, and there are some new documents there to kind of give you some context if you need it tonight. There is a document that gives a summary of the work that we've been doing over the last 2 years. So if you would like to go for minutes and agendas to get more detail on that and why we came to the decisions that we came to, all of that is there for you, as well as former PowerPoint presentations that we've given and other building design drafts that we've gone through before getting to where we are tonight. So tonight's goals have to do with this new information that we're getting straight from our professionals who are here today that have been working with us. So as they give their presentation and as they go through the updated designs that they have for us, these are designs that have been evolving over time and were first presented to the public in September and have been refined for you, and the cost estimates that are associated with that, the next steps going forward, and then we will have questions and comments for our professionals afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up our main architect, Brad Prescott from Banwell Architects. And by the way, Amy did come in from Fussett O'Neill. She'll be talking to us as well about the site plans. So Brad, thank you.
Hey everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. I know it's a little windy out there. We just drove down 89 and 93 and the roads were really rather sketchy. We drove into Hollis and everything was fine. So I don't know what you guys get going on, but it's working. So, but it's our pleasure to be here, and it's been a lot of fun working with your team to figure out the needs for the school and understand the building better. So thank you, Ann, for going through that, what we're trying to achieve today. So I'm going to try to go quick. This is an update from what we briefed you on in October and all the options we went through and how we tried to refine those. So I'm looking forward to discussing the questions and concerns at the end. So really quick on process, there's about 7 steps that we catalog as a process to get to a possible bond vote in this conceptual evolution that we go through to figure out the appropriate building. And we are about at step 6 at this point. So, and all of this information, as Ann had mentioned, is up on the town website. So you don't have to memorize what you're seeing on the board. You don't have to take a picture of it. It's all available right online. So I'm not going to read all the words, but essentially we've gone through the information gathering steps. We've assessed the conditions of the building. We've figured out what the needs, the programmatic needs are with your educational professionals, and have that all cataloged into every itsy-bitsy space that's a need for the curriculum of the building. We've explored several options for designs and narrowed it down with your leadership team, your school board, to one option, and then refined that option since October and come up with some cost estimated pricing, and then refined that pricing to try to get it right sized and see where there was cost savings, and achieved a lot of that. So we're at the point here of having an outreach campaign so that more people can know what's going on, which is what this is about, and to get your feedback on that. We met with the school board last night, which was very productive. They seem to have a very positive response and have asked us to continue to move forward toward March. So this is what I was just talking about since October, improving the function of the building, reducing the cost of the design, really doing a better job when we went from 3 options to actually 4 options to 1 option of refining the definition of what that option really contains, all the little parts and pieces of that, so that our construction management team could really dig into the detail of getting a solid estimate together, something we can rely on for a possible bond vote. And then they did the estimate and refined that estimate. So I'm going to ask Amy Johnson to come up for Fuss & O'Neill to talk about the site. As our civil engineer, she has done a lot of work refining everything, and she's got a lot of good information for you.
Thank you. Sorry I was late, but luckily I found parking pretty easily today. All right, so since October we refined the design, as Brad was saying, and we really worked closely with the team to make sure that we were meeting those goals. So they tasked us with a couple of items that are kind of listed up here. So a big problem that is currently going on in the school is that a lot of cars are backed up on Silver Lake Road before pickup and drop off. So we wanted to maximize the space on the school property so that we could fit as many cars as possible. And Brad was mentioning that program. We were given 57 cars as our goal for getting the queued spaces for vehicles on the property. We were able to meet that goal. We actually exceeded it at 59 spaces. So there should be more available space, and hopefully we'll get more cars off of Silver Lake Road because of that. Another one of the refinements that we were tasked with was separating parking circulation from the drop-off pickup areas. We were eliminating some parking because of the location of the building addition. So we're trying to maintain as much parking as possible, but make sure that that was safe for parents dropping off their kids and also faculty coming into the building. Also easing the bus and car kind of circulation and exiting the site. There are a couple intersections where buses and parents are kind of interacting with each other, so we want to minimize those intersections and interactions as much as possible. And then the most creative one was kind of modifying the septic. So we looked at where the septic systems are currently located. There are 2 systems, 4 leach fields that are in a butterfly formation, if you're familiar with septic design and nerd like me. So that takes up a lot of valuable real estate and kind of defines the site constraints for where we're able to reprogram that space. So we were challenged with, how can we reduce the size of these septic fields? How can we modify these septic fields so that they're more usable for parking or playground or whatever reprogramming we're looking to use? So those were kind of our challenges. And then as a result of those challenges, we really wanted to do as much cost savings so that that bottom line, is decreased as much as possible. So reducing the leaching fields is what we ended up going with for that modification of the septic system. We found an advanced treatment that actually uses microbes to break down that septic matter so that the water is treated a lot more effectively, and that reduces the load onto those leach fields, which results in up to 60% reduction. So we're able to eliminate those leach fields that are located just to the south of this building, and that way we can put in a new parking lot so that we are not losing parking on the site. The playgrounds are also remaining in place and are not really being modified. If we were to touch the playgrounds, then we would have to do a rubber surfacing underneath that play equipment, which is pretty expensive. So that is also some cost savings. And then looking at how we can take advantage of where the pavement currently exists so that we can use that sub-base gravel and base gravel material that's underneath the pavement, so that we already have that material in place and we don't have to put it in place. So there's some cost savings there. We will be repaving the whole site so it does look cohesive, nice and new at the end of the project. And then we had a vehicular bridge in the last iteration between the SAU property to the north and to the HPS site. We eliminated that, which resulted in significant cost savings. And then it also reduced our permitting requirements. So if we were to impact wetlands because of that vehicular bridge, it has the longest lead time for permitting requirements. So by eliminating that permit requirement through eliminating the bridge, we're also saving time, which results in saving some money. So those are kind of the highlights. And now I'm going to flip over to the existing. So this is how the site looks today. I'm sure you're all familiar with kind of circulation and the pain points of this site. So now I'm going to flip over to what we're proposing for the final rendering. So not too drastic of a change, at least for circulation wise of where parents are dropping off, but you'll notice a couple things that are different that I'm happy to point out. So first thing is that cars are going to be entering into this northern entrance along with buses. So there is that still bus car entrance interaction, but we removed that middle driveway that was there before, which was a lot of kind of interactions with those cars entering and exiting. So that eliminates one point. The cars for pickup and drop off will continue around the back of the school in 2 pickup and drop off lanes. And we set this up so that you can separate cars that are going to continue up to Hughes versus cars that are exiting the site, and really keep that as streamlined as possible so that there's not, interaction crossing lanes. They're in the lane, they're going to stay like that until they exit the site. You'll also notice that there's kind of this clear striped area that goes around the site as well. That allows for emergency vehicle access. So even if the queue lines are all filled up during pickup and drop off, we still maintain that access for emergency vehicles to get around the entire site. That area is also used for pedestrian circulation when pickup and drop off's not happening. And then the emergency vehicles can use the pickup and drop off lanes because there wouldn't be any cars there. All right. Next, the entrance was relocated to the front here, so we realigned parking and added more spaces along the front. We also reoriented them so they're 90-degree parking. Currently there's angled. You actually get more spaces when they're 90-degree. We also added ADA spaces so that that meets the requirements for ADA, and there will be some visitor spaces that are designated there as well. The biggest change is this area in the south of the building. That's what I was talking about with that existing mounted septic system. That's not really doing anyone any favors right now. There's a couple benches maybe and a cage of fencing. But we can use that space to actually have 47 spaces, which increases our overall count for the parking on the site by 16 spaces. So that's a net gain. In the back, we're not touching the playgrounds. We're just going to redo the fencing around them. But we are going to do loaming and seeding on that back septic area. This is where the second septic that is going to remain in place is located. So that will add additional play space that's not currently being utilized, so kids can play soccer and run around in the grass over there. And lastly, I'll point out adding in a turning lane on Drury Lane. So we kind of shifted the parking in this little lot right here. It maintains the same number of spaces, but we just reorganized it a little bit so that there would be a designated right-hand turning lane to get out of the site onto Silver Lake from Drury Lane, since we know that all the cars are kind of being channelized down right now into Drury Lane for both schools. That covers it. Sure, yeah. This is not changing, but for the vehicles that are coming around and going up to Hughes, there is a turning lane that's designated in here, and then all the other cars that are not going to Hughes can come down this side lane and have an alternative exit out onto Silver Lake by crossing over the bus. This is another bus interaction point, but because the building and the existing entrance is kind of tapered back, that allows for great sight distance so that you can kind of see and direct those traffic as needed so that cars can safely pass, queue in this area before they're exiting the site. Oh, yeah, sure. The buses are shown here in yellow across the front, and so that will be designated buses only for drop-off. And then the buses will continue out. They have their own designated little lane right here, and most of the buses continue up to Hughes, so they're able to make that turning movement out onto Drury Lane and then continue up to Hughes to make further drop-offs. Okay, great.
Thank you. Pleasure. So I'm going to make one more plug for transparency before I go into the next slide. We have some printed out boards of the design material that you're seeing. They're a little tardy making it to the meeting this evening. They were up at Hughes for the school board meeting last night, and they're making their way down here. They'll probably be here in the next 10 minutes or so. But after the meeting, we don't have to go to the slide deck for you to see these designs. They'll be right up over here for you to, if you want to take a closer look. And we'll be around to answer some questions as well. On those boards, as well as on the board that's in the back right now, you'll see a QR code. So, if you wanted to actually just scan it with your phone, you can go right to the website where all of the project information is, including the information that is available this evening. So, just want to make sure you don't feel like you have to memorize everything that you're hearing all at once. So, building design refinements. Since October, we've moved the entrance from the 1A design in this 1B design to basically make it a little bit more intuitive in both its design and location. We've also shifted it closer to the spaces that might be utilized more often for after-hours use, like the gym and the library and so forth. So there's a very strong connection between those spaces and the lobby now, which we think is more advantageous. There's some cost savings in that as well, so that was a double bonus. We also moved the stage closer to the music room, which is down at the end of the wing. Acoustically, that works really well. And that's a good, strong connection between those two functions for performances and the support of that. In terms of cost savings in the building, we were able to do some refinements to its size to bring it down a little bit, which, every square foot counts. So we've been very careful about that. In addition, we've reduced some of the renovation area through a little bit of further refinement, which is wonderful. We took some skylights out of the design, which really were determined to be unnecessary. And we'll be showing you in some 3D drawings here, some renderings, how we have windows around the perimeter of the gym at a very high level, so they're not in danger of being broken by basketballs or anything like that. But when you have that many windows up high, you really don't need expensive skylights. So we took them out of the design to save there. Masonry is an important component of material for schools because of its resilience in a couple of different ways. So we do have masonry in some of the design of the building, but we did pull back on it in the last couple of months for cost reasons. So we've been very strategic in its location, keeping it on the outside of the building of the additions at what's called a wainscot level, which is below basically the windowsill height. down to the ground so that when the salts get on the building from the road, they're not corroding the finish of the building. Also in the gym, the interior face of the gym remains CMU, or concrete block, which is great for resilience and all the balls that hit it and all that stuff. But the rest of the building is this fiber cement clapboard and fiber cement paneling, which is very economical. Exterior cooler and freezer were put in the project instead of having them inside the building, another cost savings measure. And then of course we're finding the finishes, which when you're doing a 20,000 square foot addition, or 19 in this case, every square foot of finish can make a difference. When you're talking about $1 a square foot here and there. So this is the what we call the 1B design, but it's the final design based on the 1A design that was selected by the school board. And as we've refined in the last couple of months, I'm sure you've all been following this diligently, so you know everything about this plan. I won't run through the whole thing, right?
Where on the website are the drawings of this plan? Should be under documents.
She's asking where on the website? Under documents. So it's on the right-hand side of the site, right?
Yes, but within the next week, we are preparing more of the visual representation now that we've sort of finalized a design, so that way you can see all of these just in very clear form as opposed to searching through documents to identify where all the individuals.
So I'm just seeing minutes and agendas. Is it?
Under the, so if you look into the PowerPoint from September 17th, and then there are drawings here. And probably.
So it'll be more clear.
So
I would say within the week, we had to make sure the school board was in support of the plans. That was last night, so I just shifted all the documents over to our compliance person to create that page. So within the next week.
So for those of you, did everybody hear that? You did? All right, great. I'm getting some nods in the back, so we're good. Okay, great. So just walking you through this, anybody, just to bring you up to speed. So the existing building for the school is where my pointer is, right here. And it goes up to about this point. And everything to the left of that is existing. This is the second floor. Okay. Silver Lake Road is right here. And everything in green is a general classroom. So the general philosophy of this organization for the building is we're trying to keep the general classrooms for the grades all grouped together in the same area as pods, in grade pods. That allows us maximum flexibility when you have bubble grades, and maybe you have a large kindergarten and a slightly smaller first grade. They can switch classrooms back and forth on even odd years, things like that. So we have kindergarten here, first grade here, facing Silver Lake Road. Second grade is down on the lower level of the two-story portion of this building. And the third grade is on the second level of the two-story portion of the building. Everything you're seeing in purple are special education or individual instruction rooms, intervention rooms, things for kids that need special attentions for instruction. And the light blue are your specials. So we have environmental science, art, and music. And the orange are administration or educational support. So we have our administration, main office, so the principal and support, the conference room, things like that. And then the staff, break room, office, workroom, and some other storage rooms, and the school psychologist and the nurse. So in terms of general organization of the building, what we've done is moved the main entrance of the building from over here on the corner to a more centralized location, because we've added on to the building right here with a gym, a library, art, and music room addition, and then a small two-classroom addition on the back, so that we could actually achieve our educational programming. So as you walk in the new entrance to the building, we have a secure administration wing right next to the entrance. So you don't get access to the building like you do now, just by walking in through the vestibule. You actually have to go through the office to gain access to the remainder of the building. It's a very important safety protocol that's recommended by the Department of Homeland Security. And then we have a lobby here with, if you turn right, you end up with the library on the right-hand side, and there's a gym across the hall, which is actually a multi-purpose room. So you have a full gym space that can accommodate a middle school-sized basketball court, but it also has a stage or a platform at the end for those performances that happen throughout the year, and it's got a rigid panelized partition that can open and close, so they can have lunch on one side of this space while they're having physical education for the lower grades on the other side of the space. So we're giving that space dual use. And then when you have physical education for older grades, like a second or third grade, you can open up the whole space and use it for PE throughout the entire full-size gym. And then this is the kitchen portion of the addition in the back. The remainder of the building is either getting left in place because it's just fine, or it's getting reconfigurations where necessary to satisfy your educational program. The entire design is geared toward reusing what you have as much as possible, because you guys have done a lot of work and invested a lot of money in stabilizing this building and keeping it running properly. So we want to just build upon that investment and reconfigure as little as we can. That's pretty much it. So we like to show this as part of the presentation. We don't expect you to read it, but what it is a conceptual demolition plan. So if you were to go onto the website and look at it, you see the dashed lines on the walls that are actually being demolished, which gives you a sense of the very surgical way we're working on the building to try to minimize the disruption to the building and therefore the cost. And with that, I'm going to turn you over to our project designer in the office at Banwell, Matt Giffen. He's just going to walk you through some of the exterior views of the building, which I think you'll find enlightening.
Thank you, Brad. Good seeing everyone tonight. So some of you are probably seeing these floor plans for the first time tonight. Some of you may have been with us every step of the way, and this is the 5th or 6th time that you've seen it. Most of you, unless you joined us last night, you've not seen this building in 3 dimensions. So tonight I get to, for the first time, show you how we envision this building looking like in 3D. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 trips around the building. One at a high level, bird's eye. I'm going to fly counterclockwise around the building. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can get a better idea of the character of the building. And we're going to fly around the building one more time. So again, the first trip around the building is going to be a more high level, just to give you an orientation of the site. Amy did an awesome job explaining what the site looks like and how it functions on that 2D rendered plan, but sometimes these 3D drawings explain the story a little bit better. And also, there's a few slides that I've done where I turn the existing building gray. So I'm going to flip back and forth so it gives you a good idea of what's new versus not. So, right off the start, just to orient us, this is the front of the building. This is Silver Lake Road, and this is Drury Lane. These are the play fields out back. So I'm just going to go back and forth again real quick just to show you what's new and what's existing. All of this is existing. This is new back here, and this is new right here. So again, back, forth. Got a few more of these. As Amy mentioned, the 10 buses will queue here, and the pickup drop-off will move around the back of the site. You'll get a better view of that later, and we have our new parking lot over the existing septic fields here. Existing. Now we're north, looking south. So again, this is the main entrance here. This is our library, art room, music room, multi-purpose room, stage, and when I get around the back, I'll show you some more. Again, this is where the cars enter. We've got a storage shed, our propane tanks. Now we are looking really at the back of the building at this point. A lot of service entrances are happening back here. Again, this is the pickup drop-off line. We take a right and head up to the upper primary school, or take a left and come back to Silver Lake Road. This is one of the three egress entrances and exits from the gym. This is the kitchen entrance. This is the coolers. This is one of the entrances. This is the environmental science, the new environmental science room that you probably noticed from the last, floor plan. And this was the intensive needs program. This all is existing, new. So I'm going to go back and forth one more time. At least for me, it helps kind of going back and forth a few times. Before I move to the right a little bit, I'll also point out that these are the playgrounds that we are keeping in touch. So this is the existing school. This is a nice view of that new parking lot. Again, playgrounds, Drury Lane, turning lanes. You can see the buses queued up back here. This is the current main entrance of the building. Again, Silver Lake, Drury Lane. So, like I mentioned, we just did a full loop around the building from a high perspective. Now we're going to zoom in so we can show you a little bit more of the architectural character of the building. So we're familiar with the fact that this building is located in the historic district of Hollis. This is also an addition onto an existing building, so we're inheriting an aesthetic that already exists. So understanding that there's historic character that we want to make sure that we're respecting, but also an existing aesthetic, you'll notice a lot of similarities between the existing school, but we also added some architectural intrigue. So for example, some simulated divided lights over the windows, some panelings over the windows. Brad mentioned the brick and masonry wainscot that goes around the building. That is a nice aesthetic feature, but it's also an important durability feature of the building as well. So this is the main entrance of the building. One thing that we think this entrance does is really helps define the entrance. You enter the site, it's pretty clear this is where you're supposed to go. Currently, it's tucked into that corner and you may not actually be aware of where you're coming and going from. This is the library that pops out. And again, this is the music room, art room, and gym and stage behind. A nice, more close-up view of the library. We have a nice curved little element between the library bump out and the main entrance. This is really kind of the main architectural feature of the building. So this is moving to the rear of the building. This is the side after-school hours entrance to the gym. Of course, you can go in through the main entrance as well, but this would be the second main entrance. These are the entrances out of the egress entrances out of the gym. Coolers, library, and again, gym behind, and intensive needs program right here. Now we're really at the back of the building here. So again, you just saw this from a slightly different perspective, so I won't spend any time here. But this is one of the accessible entrances that we've created. The site dips down at the back, as a lot of us know, so this is an entrance that will have an accessible ramp as well as stairs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Smith to talk about construction phasing.
Good evening, Matt Smith with DEI. We've been asked to come in and help define some of the more construction, get into the deep dive, Matt Wheaton and myself. So starting off, this is a conceptual phasing plan. And when we looked at the whole site, we wanted to figure out how do we get as much work done without disrupting the students and the faculty, right? So one of the things we've done is we've kind of separated this out into summertime work and year-round work. Okay, so that first summer, where's that light? There we are. The first summer, we're going to get into some of that septic work and get that new septic and leach field all set. So then we can move right into the parking space, because where the new addition is going, the teachers are going to lose a ton of parking. we're gonna need to make sure we get that done prior to them getting back to school. We're also gonna get in here and get this north side of the driveway and some of the propane tanks moved, so that this queuing line starts to form shape for that first year. Then we get into, and we also get into the south wing, taking on a couple smaller pieces of the renovation work inside, so that we can have those areas done and complete prior to the kids getting back, so we're not shuffling them around during the school year. A little later in that summer, that's when we get into the big push of the 14-month project, which is the new additions, these green areas here. So we're gonna start those in the summertime, but those are gonna go clear through to the end of the project. We're gonna stay focused on those and try to keep our noise year round on the outskirts so that we're not, again, bothering the children and the faculty. So that's planned to go for the full 14 months. That second summer is when we get into these core renovations, right? And some of this area where like the new nurse's office is going, we obviously, that's a part of the kitchen right now. We can't give up the kitchen during the school year. We gotta wait till they're gone for the summer, and by the time they get back after the summer's over, we'll have the new kitchen done. So that frees us up to do a lot of these core construction areas and get that admin ready. That summer too, we have quite an undertaking with the east, west, and south driveways and getting everything complete. But by the time they get back after that second summer, that project should be wrapping up completely. Again, this is conceptual. There's a lot of things that need to go into this with discussing further with the school, discussing with local jurisdiction, expectations of the fire department and things of that nature on where are we going to receive deliveries, where are we going to have lay down space. We did kind of set this temporary fencing up here that is pretty realistic to where that would go for the whole duration. Whether or not we're going to have enough lay down space in there, again, there's a little further discussion and we need to get into that. But this is a good jumping off point to give everybody a basic understanding of how we're going to work through the project with as little disruption to the class as possible. So we want to give you an introduction to that. 100%, yeah.
So the other, I'm Matt Wheaton with DW Construction. The other thing we want to do is we won't be mixing construction workers with student populations and teachers. So when we're in this building, there's no student, no teacher here. And then when the students come back, we're out, right? We're clearly marked. We understand how to work on the school grounds. As a construction company, we did 12 projects last year in school districts. So we understand how to operate, how to sequence, how to stay out of your way, how educators need to educate, keep noise at bay. When we have to work, it's not quiet work all the time, but we understand testing schedules. We plan that into our sequence so that we understand if there is a duration of time where testing has to happen, we can limit the noise either early or late or just not do the work, so we'll build it into our sequence and schedule. So everybody on site will be safe, it's clearly marked, there'll be some chaos, construction is always disruptive, so we apologize, the district, I guess, apologizes, but there will be some disruption, but it's managed.
Organized chaos.
Organized, yeah.
All right, moving to the next screen, I believe a lot of people may be familiar with this, some of you may not. We were tasked early on to get into conceptual cost, and this was at a really high level. We were basing prices off of ideas more than anything else at that point. And what we wanted to do was kind of go through and make it more of a comparison drill. When the school had multiple projects in front of them, they had 3 or 4, and 3 main ones in the beginning. And we just wanted to get a fundamental understanding of what the difference was between each of those costs. Okay, so this was more of a comparison. Now luckily, the school did go with option A, which is the cheapest out of the three when we were doing the conceptual comparison pricing. And that kind of leads us into this next slide, which is a more refined and more defined. The design team has done a tremendous job, really giving us more to work off of, some real defined written scopes and narratives. Obviously we've got a ton of drawings that got passed around. There's a little value engineering that went into it back and forth, but this is where we got to, and I'll ask Matt to step up again. He may want to get into a little more defined on how we've got to this place.
This is usually where people get the most irritated, so I apologize
That's why I give it to Matt.
with numbers. So the way we start to look at these things, so DEW has worked with this architect, or design team rather, on almost 50 different projects. So we sort of know where they're headed. We understand schools, as I mentioned earlier. So we can, at a high level, even though when the plans look like some of these color diagrams over here, we tend to know what's going to be on that wall, even though if they don't very clearly state that it has to have padding plus durable systems, et cetera. Right? We can get there. The other thing we do is we look at a lot of cost history, cost data, locally, regionally, figure out what it might look like. But to do this exercise, there was enough information for our estimating team and myself to look at, not brick by brick, but a little more detail because there was enough information to look at. So the numbers here are informed. They may not be welcomed, but they're informed information. We have, as Matt mentioned, there were a number of documents provided to us, a lot of historical information. EEI did all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, which they do a mountain of mechanical systems in school districts all over the state. And we had a local site subcontractor take a look at the site. So the variables in most of these projects are the site. So we like to get a little more refined and detailed to those numbers. And then the vertical is a little more quantifiable. Sites harder. So I don't know if I missed anything, Brad, specifically, but there was a lot of detail that went into this. There were a lot of conversations about what ifs, right? So if we don't do this, could we replace it with that? And then the conversation then stems to, if we do that, what's the durability and longevity of that product long term? Because it's not always about putting down the cheapest thing initially, because then you have more maintenance or repair long term. So there's a balancing act that goes along, and we're not done yet. And there's more to come probably. But this number is not science, right? These aren't hard bids from a lighting vendor, but they're informed numbers that you can plan for. So I think I'm done for now.
Not the question answered just yet.
Yeah.
Go on, Brad.
I know people are eager to ask questions and have a dialogue, so we're gonna, and we are at the end, so we're there. What's the next steps? So the district is continuing the effort in doing more outreach to the community and getting this information out there so everybody can be making informed decisions in March. They are intending to have another public forum in January. I believe that's January 21st. There may be some other meetings in addition to that that are just not up here yet, so stay tuned. And then the bond hearing is February 10th with the annual meeting in March 17th for the school district, in which the vote would take place. And I won't belabor the looking at the website and staying up to speed, but it's all up there.
One slide I was absent-minded. I forgot to talk about soft costs. So building costs are building costs, right? Site. Soft costs are all other components that are necessary to construct the project. Permit fees, engineering architects, surveys, geotechnical investigations, FF&E fixtures, furniture, equipment, any sort of IT equipment that has to go into these new classrooms or the new multi-purpose space, some of those things. That's what quote unquote soft costs cover. Sorry about that.
So I know you just got a lot of information. So when you ask your questions, we are recording this so that this will be available online for anybody who is not able to be here today. And also so we can summarize some of this information and have it out there for you. So if you do have a question, we do ask that you come up to this microphone to ask your question so that everybody here can hear it. And then we'll have the appropriate person come up to answer your questions. So please come on up if you. Thank you. This is our fire marshal, Jen Kvetsky. Oh, you can go behind it.
My question is, has there been any consideration towards adding a cistern for fire suppression to an increase in the fire pump for the addition of the building? Is that included in the cost?
Yeah, that is included in the MEP cost, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing cost, that would be yes.
So the short answer for anybody who didn't hear is yes, that has been considered and included.
Do you need a name? Yeah.
That would be great.
Sure.
Yes.
Dave Perry.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
This proposal, is it union scale wages that are included in this, or is this a non-union proposal? Things like prevailing wage, is that included in this or not?
Yeah, so typically prevailing wage, we pay all of our subcontractors in our company are well above prevailing wage. It's not union versus open shop or merit shop, right? It is best quality and best price, right? And ability to meet schedule. So some of the things that are going to come up at some point, right? The site work's a big site. We have to have that parking ready and torn up and leach field moved in one summer. It's going to limit the size of some subcontractors, but it is not based on union scales or non-union or, you know,
Okay.
it's just.
I come from a place where that's
Big deal.
Yeah, Connecticut. So I escaped. Thank you. Right answer.
How's it going? My name's Victor Orlando. Question. I haven't gone to a lot of these, just to catch me up a little bit. How many additional classrooms is this adding to our current amount? And then what is the expected additional enrollment capacity that increases?
Sure.
That adds to it?
That's a great question. You're going to make me look at my notes though. So the first part I can answer easily. So the number of classrooms to add is 5. So we're adding, let's see, so it's 4 general classrooms, and those include flex classrooms to handle bubble grades and future expansion.
So just to clarify, that's additional to what we already have?
Yes.
That's 4 classrooms, including ones that may be repurposed?
That's, if you took the grand total number of classrooms we have now, and the new design has 4 general classrooms added to the layout of the building. We don't look at the building as the existing and the new, we look at it as one cohesive whole because we're trying to leverage as much of the existing building as we have. So it's 4 general classrooms for K through 3. And then there's 1 preschool classroom added. I guess you can call it 1 because you sort of have like a third of a preschool classroom in the hallway out here. So, I mean, I wouldn't count that as 1, and then you have a full preschool classroom. So when we're done, we'll have 2 full-size preschool classrooms. In terms of enrollment, Okay, so. Program. I just don't want to get the number wrong. The design capacity is, I believe it's 450 with the, oh, here it is. Sorry, got it now. So, yeah, 450 students is the design capacity for the classroom design. But the core spaces, meaning the gym, cafeteria, library, nurse's office, spaces, the first few spaces I mentioned are very hard to expand in the future. So, like if you had a couple of classrooms added onto the building later on, you want those core spaces to still satisfy a larger number for an eventual expansion should you need it. So we've sized those spaces for 480 per the direction of the enrollment committee. So just to recap, that's 450 capacity for the building and 480 for the core spaces only, should you need to add on to the building in the future.
What's the current capacity of the building?
The current enrollment is 386, right? I had 386 at the beginning of this process earlier in the year.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi there, my name is Sarah Burns, and I just had questions in regards to the multi-purpose space. So will it not alleviate the problem of sharing space and cafeteria and timing of, so that problem still exists, or no?
You know, when we talk about needs and wants, we really wanted a separate cafeteria and a gymnasium, but it was not cost efficient, nor was it space efficient. So the compromise that came to is that there will be a partition in the middle of the multi-purpose room, so that when, for example, when the little ones are having their, when the older kids are having their lunch, the younger kids can still have gym, because they don't need the huge space.
Okay, I just wanted to make
this
sure.
room.
Yeah.
But then when the older children have their PE time, the younger kids will already have their lunch. And so they'll be able to have the full space that they need, and also be able to have the basketball courts and things like that that they're not able to access. So essentially, the kindergarten and first grade, correct me if I'm wrong, Paula, they will still have that smaller space while the cafeteria is functioning for the older children, the older children that have a larger space. And that large space will be there for events, you know, school meetings, et cetera, that right now we're not able to do in this small space.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, just a small footnote to that last answer. Over with these boards here, there's actually an existing plan with all the square footages of the existing spaces. So if you're looking at the board to the right of that with the new design, you can actually compare the sizes of spaces to each other. And I think what you find is that the PE space for the kindergarten and first graders are pretty close to the size of this room for half of that multi-purpose room. So it's pretty good size for that age group.
I'm going to add that just as someone who walks through the buildings.
And while this square footage seems to be pretty comparable to half of the proposed multi-purpose room, this also serves as a hallway to this space and a hallway to that space. So the usable space here for PE class is not the full space. So trying to get by the hula hoops and the jump ropes can be a task for the adults walking by as well. So it becomes much more functional with the proposed space.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Anne for her continued information that she sent to me through the Positively Hollis website and newspaper. I'd also like to thank the committee for all the work that you've done. I did notice, however, that in the more recent meetings, and you had mentioned that you are looking for a member of the community who may have engineering experience, etc.
how have you reached out to the community to impress that upon them to participate in this?
Well, we've announced it at all of our enrollment committee meetings, all of the school board meetings, and we've consistently been announcing it at the House Budget Committee meetings. So actually our representative from the school board is actually here tonight that represents the board at the House Budget Committee, and every time he was announcing that we needed that person. And we just put in the newsletters, here at school.
Sure.
It's hard. It's hard
It
to
is.
get information.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is. And so we did have someone for the whole first year, but that person did have to step aside. I did have one person reach out to me at one point, and it never showed up. So,
Okay.
that is a certain point.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That is a critical position. I'd actually like to see 2 or 3 more of taxpayers on the committee as soon as possible. I know you can't make that happen.
Yeah.
So what I would like to ask is, within the $164,000 that we voted to, provide so that you could have the study, I would like to have you do an all taxpayer mailer to every home in Hollis as soon as possible, and certainly no later than 3 or 4 weeks before you have the budget meetings, et cetera, where these discussions are critically important. It'll do a couple of things. Number one, if you do that more immediately, you will have people who respond, because I don't have children in the schools. I'm not on an email list, so I don't receive that, as most people, who don't have kids in the schools. We're kind of blind to this. I know that you've made a great effort on social media, but there are many people who don't use social media. So I think that in your efforts to be transparent, which I know you have done, this is a critical step, and I would ask the committee to create a flyer of some sort that gives some kind of detail, and also the detailed information that will now be up on the website. So I would appreciate that, yes, as soon as possible.
We have about $31,000 we haven't spent. We've been able to manage our money very well. So
Yeah,
if you find
having done mailers myself, we're talking about, $3,000 to hit every mailbox. So that would be money well worth spent, in my opinion. The other question I had is regarding the all-purpose room, the gym. Over the years, we've had these spaces added. To the high school, for example, we have a beautiful auditorium with a stage. And when that was, money was raised for that, we were promised as the public that we would have access to use that facility for town plays or town meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And over the years, that's been less and less. Ginny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what my real question is this beautiful space that you want to create, will our inter-basketball teams be able to use that? I remember my son used to play at the upper elementary school and use the gym outside of school time. Will there be an opportunity if somebody says, hey, we'd like to have a small pickleball
Absolutely.
game? Will that be, is that a guarantee that that space will be open to the public when the school is not in session?
Absolutely. So we have a facilities use request form. There's a policy that drives that. The Halls policy, I was just looking at it last week, probably needs to be updated for Brookline, the school district, and co-op. It's very specific per space, the cost. But we don't have a lot of space here that people want to rent, so we don't have the specifics. So I think we need to refine that. But yes, Halls Upper Elementary is booked solid with basketball. And then on the weekends, we have some additional groups that come in. To my knowledge, the only time we've denied an outside group is because the school had a use for it. Or there was inclement weather. But absolutely, we have outside groups using our facilities.
So that will be part of this plan.
100%. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm sorry, I've got a couple, as long as I'm here, can I just keep asking?
And on to next, I don't know if you haven't noticed, they included in this, that is part of our plan, that there are doors that are here that cut off these spaces that can be rented from the school. So they made the design, we all talked about that, making it available for the community, and that there would be restrooms available for the community, if they are using that area, and they wouldn't be able to access like the classrooms that the kids go to. So,
Your restrooms there,
yep,
access to the gym.
right, so that is part of the
Thank you. And then I, as a member of the Historic District Commission here in Hollis, I appreciated your, thank you, Natalie, for your attention to that. Will you be coming to the HDC prior to, while you're in the design phases to present this as a courtesy?
Absolutely. So in addition to reaching out to folks like you, we'd also be reaching out to the fire department. What you're seeing here is a really good step in the process, but all of the floor plans, exterior aesthetics, all of that is to be refined once hopefully the bond is passed. So we don't want to fully design this at this point. We have to kind of defer some of that effort. But knowing that you're on this, maybe I can get your contact information at the end of this.
Oh, no, I don't share that.
I would love to reach out to you when appropriate,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
I
we'd
would
be
love to
happy
take your
to.
brain
Yeah,
on
we would
this.
appreciate that. Thank you so much. So I think for now, that's all my questions. Again, I want to thank you, and I'd love to talk to you about just increasing that number of your committees so that we can get more input from taxpayers on a regular basis. Thank you very much.
I had a couple of questions, just aesthetics. You had a picture of the roof. Yes, maybe you put one up there. But our roof is just so lovely right now. Is it going to look like that? Or what's going to happen to all that item? Is that part of your demolition?
Yeah. When it comes to the equipment, I'm going to hand this over to our mechanical guy.
So with the initial conversations, we talked about more renovations in the existing part of the building, but it wasn't driving the project, right? So a lot of that HVAC equipment that you're seeing on that side of the building, unfortunately, is going to be existing to remain, BTR. The new equipment that's going on this, in this area, this new area, you're not going to see all that shiny silver ductwork. That's all going to be run within the building. There is rooftop equipment that, no matter how hard we try, we can't do much about that. We have to give it a place to live, and expanding on the building to keep it inside would just blow the cost out of the water. So for the new areas, you will see the mechanical equipment, but you won't see all that octopus of all those legs of branch ductwork wrapped in silver spreading throughout.
Oh, I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, I'll miss it.
Yeah, so that end of the building is gonna stay that way, and, when it comes time.
So
We'd love to work
that's
with
not
Lance
really-
on getting it all into the building, right, Lance? Yeah, all right, so we'll, you harp on him, and I will too.
I just want to know if what I'm seeing is what I'm going to get. And if I'm not going to get all that silver gone, then you need to put it back in your picture. Because that's not what I'm going to get.
Well, I think you make a good point. We did not model every single piece of pipe, and all the solar panels and all of the stuff that's on the roof, nor do we intend to do that. But I think, we can say with great conviction that the cleanliness of this portion of the roof that is new, that we're building, will have rooftop units on it, but it won't have clutter that is existing to remain on the remainder of the building. This is a value-oriented design. We're leveraging what you've invested in to date. We're not spending money unnecessarily. That has been our charge. And therefore, we're leveraging systems and reusing systems and leaving systems that are working properly in place and that's the way they're going to stay. This part of the building, we'd like to show a drone view of the building so people can get a big overview. We're not trying to be misrepresenting, but at the same time, it's rather labor intensive to model every single little itsy-bitsy piece of the roof of purposes. So that's not something we're intending to show.
So you're not intending to show that? I think if some people just come to one meeting or the end meeting and they see a rendition like that, that's what they're going to expect to see in the end. And if that's not going to be it, you need to have a true rendition. This is not fair to us.
Okay.
If I buy a car, I see it and I say, okay, I'm going to buy it. Same thing with the house. Sure.
One thing that I appreciate you bringing this up is that mechanical equipment is something that you wish you wouldn't have to see. One of the reasons why we have these meetings is to hear things like this. There are strategies that we can do that could help kind of make that not disappear, but maybe make it less noticeable. So one thing that we can do moving forward is look at strategies. So as Brad said, we're not going to take it away. It's working fine, and it would just be a cost. But maybe there's something that we could do up there that maybe we could paint the ductwork so it's less obvious. Maybe we could put up some mechanical fencing or grating up there to make it go away. So hearing that's an issue, and I'm sure you're not the only one who thinks that.
Sure I'm not.
Exactly. So maybe that's something that we can add to our list moving forward, so that that's something that we can address. Not changing the equipment, but maybe there's a different strategy that we can do to make that look a little better.
And I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. Is the solar business going to remain too?
The solar would remain. Yep. Yep. And I'd also just like to, I know I don't probably need to say this, but most of us aren't flying around the site from this perspective. Most of us are kind of at this view. So you are 100% right that at this perspective, down there you can see that. So I just want to point out that that's not going to be nearly as obvious down here.
Well, I think what we could do is we could put a little footnote on the renderings that we are posting on the website to be clear that the existing mechanical equipment that you see now is remaining. Matt's talked about some mitigating measures that we can take. We're architects. We love to make beautiful buildings, but we also like to service our clients and meet you where you are and meet your needs. And part of that is making sure we're meeting the financial need and being responsible with your dollars. So the design that you see here is very much value oriented. It's not spending money where it doesn't have to be spent. The district has been very judicious about and very careful about making sure that we're only focusing on what the need is. So if there are some monies found to paint ductwork or put up screening or some other things to make the building more palatable, we would love that. We would love to do that work, but it's my job up here to help you make informed decisions and give accurate information so you can really understand what we're proposing. And I just don't want to steer you down a wrong path and give you a misimpression.
Well, I think a footnote, a big footnote, so people can read it about that this is not true rendering in terms of the original ductwork is going to remain or whatever. That you've got to be transparent. What's the capacity of the school buses that can be in the front of the school? There's several school buses, and I'm just wondering if those are going to be the things hanging out on 122.
Yeah, no, buses would definitely have priority, and we have
Obviously.
designated space for them. And you can fit up to 13 buses currently with the new facade in front drive aisle. So I think the district has 10. So we are exceeding that capacity for what is available space.
Okay. That's all my questions for the architects. My other questions have to do for the schools. Okay.
Just a couple of the figures I have on my fingertips. The district currently has 8 buses, and let's see, they require 7 full-size and 3 small ones for the future, for the 10 total. But what's shown on the rendering is 13. You have 10 now? What's changed? 10 and 2 small? I'm wrong. So it's 10 and 2 small, but the rendering shows 13. There's 13 and you're showing 10 full size. There you go.
So you have how many now, and you have a space for 13?
It's space for 13 and 10 now, and it said going forward, they only needed 10 for this core use. But there's space for 13 should we need more.
What about for the numbers that you're thinking about for growth? I mean, you know, if you're going to need more bus space, you're going to be hanging out.
We put 3 additional full-size buses in the design than we currently have. Right now we have 10, but we would be able to have 13 loading and unloading at the same time. So they'd be off of 122.
Okay. And how long do you think that this addition renovation is going to bring us? How many years is it going to bring us into?
Sure. So that is that's the question of the year, right? That's where everything started. We've been watching, at first this was just an enrollment committee, watching the enrollment. Is it a bubble? Are we going to see a change when the economy shifts? And what we saw is the bubble just keeps growing. We have more and more students and we have more and more births. So we've been keeping a close eye to the point where we have a classroom in the hallway. So we had to move forward. But picking that magic number, that was our starting point. And it took a lot of conversations, a lot of thought. We don't want to overbuild and have an empty building, but at the same time, we don't want to build and propose an addition that only lasts 4 years. So we fully believe that this is going to meet our expected growth. My hope is for the next couple decades. I can't speak to what the enrollment will be like in 20 years. But you know, we look at our projections the next 5 years. We have a solid belief in. We have projections out 10 years, but a lot can impact that. The economy, move-ins, move-outs, et cetera. But as the enrollment in New Hampshire public schools is dropping everywhere, we have not seen that. We just keep going up, and so it appears as though families are moving to our town. So I believe that it'll last for a couple of decades. What was really important, even though all of the classrooms have names, first grade or preschool, they're all flex spaces, and so they can, if we have more students in first grade, one of those classrooms can become a first grade classroom, or we could shift it over. So the idea was we have to propose something that was that could change with the times. It wasn't static. We don't want to build structures into the classroom so it's only capable of being an environmental science classroom. What if we needed another kindergarten classroom? Could we expand, move environmental science for a year if we need to? And so we've been quite thoughtful about what is that magic number and how do we build for the foreseeable future.
Okay. I just want to note from you that preschool, I know, is not mandated by New Hampshire. And I know I've read your FAQs, okay, that it was decided, if I remember correctly, the wording 15 years ago or so. I've been living in this town. I don't want to tell you how long, but very long. And what concerns me is, I know I'm very familiar with special ed too. I've
worked with developmental disabilities children and received special ed for one of my own children. So I'm very, very familiar with it in this state. What concerns me is, one, who is it was decided 15 years ago, and I suspect it was the school board. But the other thing is, have you thought about the ramifications of that? If you have preschool in this district, does that mean that every child who lives in Hollis is entitled to come to preschool here? And why not?
I'm sorry, but I did say at the beginning, we're trying to focus on new information and specifically information about our design and our site plans, because we've actually addressed a lot of these concerns in previous forums, and they are addressed on the website too. And I am happy, so with Vicki and myself, to talk with you about your concerns offline. We'd be happy to do that, but out of respect for our consultants that are here tonight, we want to keep this more a building and site-focused conversation, and so we could talk about preschool at another time, if that's all right. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, well, it was
We
just
don't always have them here.
other options in terms of some of this problem.
So much is out of our hands, but we're happy to talk with you afterwards, just as this is a meeting about our site and design. Are there more questions on that topic? Thank you.
It's actually very good because it brought up the topic of solar. And I'm wondering, has the Energy Commission been involved with any of this? Is any of the build out looking at continuing the solar? Because I know there's been a great impact that you've seen from the project, both between Hughes and here.
At this point, we haven't gotten that far into those weeds, if you will. So the numbers that you're seeing do not reflect additional solar to what you have on the building now. I know because we're a part of the projects there, we have other things going on. There's the high school and the middle school that are getting solar projects, and we're in the middle of working all that out right now. But as of right now, at this point, no, what we've done so far for this school does not include any extra solar. So, yeah.
So, but what we did do is make it solar ready, quote unquote, right? So the roof system, the framing, the weight of the solar panel can be taken. The roof system is built up with a cover board, if you will, right, that will allow sort of a ballasted system, a PD array, or a system to be installed. So should you want to expand, it's capable. The structure is capable of carrying it.
Okay. Has anybody from the Energy Commission been involved with any of the meetings or anything so far? Not yet.
At our October 14th forum in the House of the Library, a representative came. They're aware.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Quick question on the energy part. Do we have any estimates on the increase in energy costs and utilities for the expansion?
We are currently in the process of putting together, there's a HAP program that kind of lays it out. But again, we're more in that conceptual. We're not at that deep dive yet we've started talking about equipment and the best way to heat and cool the spaces and what type of efficiencies we're looking for. And we use that for pricing. But as far as getting into any types of available rebates for the equipment and what the true cost difference is going to be from now to then, no, not at this time. it is part of the process, but we're in such the early stages, and things are bound to change slightly, that it would be premature for me to give you
I got you.
anything more than that at this point.
The follow-up question that I would have when you guys do figure out the calculations is what is going to be the variability of the equipment for when we're at capacity from an e-game perspective from the increased amount of students versus when we're not at capacity, and how are we going to calculate for that in terms of the costs when you guys get them?
Understood. Thank you.
Hi, another question about the cost estimate. Can you isolate what is traffic mitigation versus educational facilities? Is that all, or is that all tied together? I see that is a different priority level. And I'm not sure if that can be isolated and, you know, do one but not the other. I mean, I saw the site work. The site work is probably for the whole thing and not just traffic mitigation.
So that's a really good question. When we started, some of our first designs really looked at traffic flow and how do we get as many cars off 122 as possible. But as you heard, those designs, we went away from them because they were cost prohibitive. So we wanted to make sure that we got the most bang for the buck, really, and how do we invest the most in educational spaces. But in doing a renovation where you're enlarging the footprint, you have to redesign traffic flow. And if we enlarge the space and take over a parking lot, we need to find enough spots for our employees to park. And so in the site work, a lot of those fees are looking at not so much just traffic flow, but we have a different building, so where are the cars going to go, and how do we maximize what we have? If we're repaving it anyway, can we stripe them at 90 degrees instead of at an angle, because we're going to get more cars. It's the same amount of paving per se. You know, the septic redesign, we needed that anyway, but looking at a system that was more efficient, that would allow us to capture more space for existing needs rather than creating a vehicular bridge, which seems like $1 million for a bridge.
Yeah.
You know, and so that just didn't make sense. So while we were focused on those, that didn't drive the decision. So the site costs include so much more. Yes, it includes parking, but those costs were driven by the building footprint, really. And do you want to correct me?
Yeah, because I worry a lot less about traffic for a few hours, because you can take Hayden Road and Rocky Pond and just avoid it altogether.
Unless you're leaving my office and trying to go to high school.
I'm going that way.
No, but another thing that's really important to note, that we identified, but we didn't really specify so much. So we have lines for two passive cars, one to go up to Hughes and one to exit back onto 122. We still have emergency vehicle access, and that is something that we don't have right now. So not only is 122 backed up, but we don't have proper access at all times, and that's not, it's not what we're supposed to have. But we're just trying to get everyone off the state road.
Okay.
So there are really nice features for safety, for cars, for traffic, just by enlarging that footprint.
Okay, thank you.
I can add a little bit more to that too. The site is currently pretty much fully paved, except for that septic area that we're going to now be paving. But there is very minimal stormwater management on the site because of when it was constructed and when stormwater laws were put in place. So we're also going to be adding in treatment because of the building renovation, because we're modifying this area, so that the water discharge from the site is also higher quality that's going into those streams that are kind of adjacent and wetland systems adjacent to it. So it's really overall adding better environmental qualities, and we're also decreasing the amount of impervious area or pavement on the site in this proposed design.
Good evening.
can't hear myself. Tom Guillen. I had a couple questions. First off, when I saw the renderings, the first thing I thought is, thank goodness they got rid of that ugly stuff on the ceiling, or on the roof rather. So I would support the comment around that. I certainly wouldn't expect anyone going to the trouble to render every component of the mechanical and HVAC system up there, but I think even a single silver cylinder on the roof would cue people in and not have them look at a footnote. Second question I had is, very early in the discussion this evening, there was, the phases of the project culminating in the approval at the town meeting, or rather the school district meeting. But after that, you're going to have, requests for proposals. Those are going to have to be analyzed, vendors selected, or partners, what do you want to call them, contractors. What is the duration for the work? When do we expect hammers to start swinging, shovels to hit the ground? And then the last question I had is, the last rendering I saw had a parking lot in the SAU field. That's moved over to the south side of the building, which I think is great. Does this current rendering go onto that property at all? Okay. So I think my last two things or my first and last questions are answered. The middle question about kind of the duration.
I'm going to say kind of a walk. I think I've got this memorized at this point. But I'll just take you back to. So the durations are here on the left-hand side. But what we're really talking about is April of 2026. We're finishing up in August of 2027. So it's a little over 14 months.
Great. Should have sat in the back.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's a lot of information.
The 17th month is actually fairly slow. It's 17, right? So we mobilize, get on site. It's just that shoulder, we're going to do a lot of work in each summer, and then the middle is just going to be this kind of steady, slow process. If everybody left and nobody was here, we could probably do this in 13 months, but we have to work around people, so we work slower and safer.
If there are any more questions that would like to be brought up to the microphone, we will be lingering around here to answer, individual questions. If you want to come up and look at the boards, kind of inspect and ask some specific questions, especially if you've been following along and you want to understand, why did we make some changes that we made. If you don't feel comfortable asking in front of everybody else, we will be here. So it is 7:30. Yeah, so our meeting is 6 to 8, so we will still be here unless there is anyone else who would like to come up. Well, thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for your suggestions. We are always trying to get the word out and trying to get feedback. Many of these changes that have been made are the result of feedback that we've received from teachers, staff, and community members like you. And it wasn't just at forums. Some of these changes were a result of personal emails sent to me or sent to Mrs. Dickey. And so then we passed that along to the committee and to this team. So you still have an opportunity to have your voice heard. This is a very set phase that we're in, but it is not the final yet. There is still time to talk to us. And we did invite, our police and our fire department representatives here tonight to get their feedback too. Everything matters to us. We want to hear your voices. So, and thank you to our team who made it out here, some traveling as far as Vermont, to get here and to speak with you this evening. And they will be back at the annual meeting on March 17th when this comes to vote. So they will be here at that time as well. And we will have a thorough presentation at that time, including a film about this project from beginning to end and the challenges that our teachers and staff are facing. There's also a public hearing with the Town Budget Committee, and that's going to be on February 10th. And that is at 7 p.m. in Town Hall. The annual meeting on March 17th is actually going to be at Hollis Brookline High School. Those of you who may have attended in the past, it used to be at the middle school, but that wasn't big enough. So we are going to be at the high school this year. So please make sure that you attend. Yes, sir.
And the public hearing actually starts at 6:30.
I apologize.
No, I don't know why we started a half hour early now, the other meetings, but that's what
He
we
would
did.
know, he's the chair of our budget committee. So thank you, Tom. So the public hearing will be at 6:30. We'll fix that.
It's on the counter right now.
There you go. So you heard it here first. So if you need anything again, please feel free to stay. And again, thank you and have a great evening.